You are alone. And you've been alone for a very long time. Every friend you thought you had has betrayed you, all because you trusted the wrong person, agreed to the wrong things. You agreed to help them learn about your culture, learn mutual understanding in the hopes that maybe you could connect with another. But then, those friends betrayed you. They convinced your friends and family to turn on and even kill each other, all over a lie. Your world was shattered, your trust broken, and your family put in grave danger. They begged you to do something as your home burned. You had to do something to stop this madness. And so, you leapt before you looked. You played hero, hoping to appeal to some sense of humanity in the monsters who caused such destruction. You followed them to another place, and all you got for it was trapped. They beat you, mocked your innocence, and left you here alone to suffer. The madness of isolation ate at you, especially after you realized that the place you're isolated in once acted as a classroom for your friends' children, the very children turned monsters that you followed here, and that everything in it is just another mocking reminder of the pain you suffer now. You hate this place, these tools that aren't yours, these foods you're forced to scrounge to survive on, and these unfamiliar alien skies, but what choice do you have? You have to survive long enough here to get back to your family. There must be a way out. There's always a way out, right? It hasn't been easy. The nightmares of what you endured and saw there kept you up at night, and the memories of your friends and family suffering during that conflict haunt you. You can still hear them screaming, and you wish you couldn't. It eats at you, consumes you, torments you day and night so much you don't know what to trust or if you're even safe anymore. So much so that your mind starts to blank itself out to spare itself, all so you can survive. You look at your reflection in the water and you don't recognize yourself anymore, even though it's you, a more savage and hardened version of you. You're a stranger, even in your own skin, and that's an idea you can't bear. It took a long time, years, for you to finally make it back home, but finally, you do. And this is when the real horror hits you. Because by the time you make it home, there's nothing left. Your home is in ruins, your family and friends clearly long dead, your whole world, down to your very cultural traditions, is shattered. You'll never again see your children's faces, never again eat the comfort food of your childhood. You'll never embrace your spouse or laugh at your friends' jokes. You cannot go home. There's no home left to go to. You are, and forever will be, an exile, trapped, isolated, the last person alive in a hell you now know you can never escape from. First, the horror comes, then the despair. At first you contemplate ending your life as you return to your prison, now forever home as harsh as it is. The despair is all you know for a time. You forget everything else, it seems, as time marches on and your mind tries in vain to spare you the existential dread of what you've just witnessed. Then, one day, someone comes to survey your prison. Someone you realize is one of the monsters who ruined your life, and while they don't notice you, they do make one fatal error. They accidentally drop a key to your cell door, a key that lets you out and into their home. A key with which you can finally make them pay for everything they and their children have done to you and your family. And this finally is when the obsessive rage comes, and you start planning revenge. Your name is Saavedro. You've been trapped on Atris's lesson ages for his sons for 20 years. And now, you're going to make Atris pay for it. Myst III Exile, hereafter referred to as just Exile, is the first of two Myst sequels not made by Cyan or by the Miller brothers. At least not entirely, or even mostly. Exile was developed by Presto Studios, who you might know as the creators of the Journeyman Project games, and who went defunct shortly after the game Exile released in 2001. By this point, Cyan was outsourcing the Myst games because they had a vision, and they had changed. The changes were mostly in the sense that Robin Miller was tired of game development and wanted to explore new avenues, while Rand Miller and Rawa had their own ideas for the franchise and where to go with it. They wanted to explore the Dunny in more depth and step away from Atris, who Rand always disliked playing and only did so out of need, wanting a professional actor for the role instead. Robin didn't agree with that as much, so he stepped away from Cyan with his brother's blessing. Meanwhile, Rand and Rawa, alongside a new crew and newly hired composer Tim Larkin, moved on to their next project. It was ambitious for the time, something just barely getting its foot in the gaming door, but Rand was convinced it was the game of the future, a new way to explore the worlds he wanted to create and the fanbase loved. The game was an MMO called Uru, and it was going to be the new face of puzzle co-op gaming. But Rand still felt compelled to tell another story in the Myst universe. It was clear the fans cared about Atris and his family, and would have liked to see more of his agents. However, there just weren't enough resources for Cyan to do both. They couldn't make both Uru and another Myst sequel. That would split the dev team up too much. Why not kill two birds with one stone and instead auction the rights to make another Myst sequel to the highest bidder? So that's exactly what Cyan did. They offered the chance to another outside developer to help make more Myst games. Many companies jumped at the offer. After all, Myst by now was a beloved name in gaming, and Cyan wasn't a small player anymore, despite still being indie. Two studios won the bid. The first was Dreamforge, the devs behind the classic horror game Sanitarium, and the second was Presto Studios. Cyan, and especially Rand, was impressed with their ideas for a sequel. One had a compelling tale of the brothers, Cirrus and Akanar, somehow returning that could tie into the fate of Yisha, Atris' daughter. The other was a dark tale of revenge in the wake of the aftershocks of the brothers' actions that brought a totally new antagonist to the Myst series. Rand signed off on both, agreeing to play Atris one more time for both games. It was settled that Presto's game would be the fourth game in the series and Dreamforge's the third, and development began. But 2 years later, Dreamforge and Presto began to struggle, so Ubisoft purchased the rights to Myst entirely. Dreamforge's sequel, which was barely started on, was scrapped, while Presto's game, which was nearly complete, was given the green light and moved up to be the next sequel in the series. Uru continued development as normal, and the rest was history. The plot of Dreamforge's game would eventually become recycled for Myst IV Revelation. Meanwhile, the game that Presto was working on would become what we now know today as Myst III Exile, a game set in the perfect place to plan revenge. Presto was not as familiar with the Myst games as they were with Journeyman, but they desperately wanted to be. The first thing the devs did on realizing they were making a Myst sequel was play Myst and Riven, to learn what the best parts to imitate were, while eliminating some of the pain points of those games. They knew the fans would want something that felt as much like a world and told as in-depth of a story as Riven, while also being as familiar and comfortable, and with logical puzzles, as Myst. They knew they wanted to return to the hub world format, with their age of Jananan acting as a central area, and the friendly-looking ages of Amateria, Idana, Voltaic, and finally Narayan, all branching off from there. They also wanted to be sure that the player could jump into the action immediately, with a clear idea of what to do. So, like in Myst, they included messages, journal entries you could collect, and obvious hints about what was expected, with just enough freedom for the player to tackle it in any order they wanted to. And they wanted the game to feel real but familiar to Myst and Riven, with gritty textures, surrealistic elements that made sense in context, and a new 3D node system that allowed players to, for the first time, look around at the beautiful, lush environments they were in, and find clues or hear things in stereoscopic sound for a more immersive experience. It shows in the final project just how much Presto really did their homework here. The ages are gorgeous, though the graphics haven't aged well, and the technology for the time is still impressive. The 3D nodes do in fact feel even more immersive than Myst and Riven do, and help ground the player in these worlds. The water even moves and fades in movement towards the horizon, and there's a lens flare when you look at the sun. Like Myst, it feels just cozy and familiar enough with intuitive puzzles that, while surreal, make sense, and like Riven it feels gritty and real, as if you could touch and smell these textures through the screen. The result is a striking blend of Myst's surrealist comfort with Riven's gritty, uncomfortable tone, crafting a unique experience that, nonetheless, still feels like a Myst game. I can't overstate it here. Presto clearly busted their backsides trying to make the Ages of Exile feel beautiful, but also tell the tale of what they are, classrooms for Atris's young sons. In that sense, they were designed to be friendly but alien, beautiful but simple, and to have fun gameplay loops. Solve the puzzles, explore the whole age, explore how the world you're in works, and then take a breathtaking ride to the end. They were designed as both classrooms and a paradise, as form and function, friendly spaces you would want to visit to understand how the art works. And then, to tell the rest of their story, they took these lush, beautiful worlds with intuitive puzzles and friendly design, and they twisted them into someone else's prison. Brad Dourif is a now retired character actor with a long storied legacy in film, particularly in horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. He's been in tons of different roles and has a very recognizable face and voice, but you'd be forgiven for not knowing who he is at first glance due to being typecast. A seasoned and practiced traditional actor known for his intensity in his roles, Dourif primarily plays creepy little weird guys, the kind of characters that are unsettlingly unstable or give you the ick, and he's very good at them. Some of his more famous roles include the killer doll Chucky from Child's Play, and the traitorous Grima Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. And in Exile, he plays the main antagonist, Saavedro. Saavedro's an odd character by Myst standards. He's not related to Atris, but he is Atris adjacent. He comes from a culture that we just now learn about, a native of Narayan, an age that's pretty alien compared to ours. His backstory is incredibly tragic, and his mark is everywhere in this game, either through the music, via messages and journal entries, or through his paintings in every age. Oh, and he's also far more intense and terrifying, far more unhinged than anyone we've met in the series thus far, except for maybe Akinar or Gen. The difference is, he's more physically present than Akinar, and a lot less cordial than Gen. Saavedro is intensely creepy, very unsettling, and deeply sympathetic despite all that. And full disclosure here, I'm 100% a Saavedro apologist. Of all the creepy little weird guys Brad Dourif has ever played, Saavedro is my favorite creepy little weird guy. He's hands down my favorite Myst character, and it's not even close. I love this guy, scraggly madness and all. I love the whole idea of the Narayani culture in general, and I love how much he freaks me out. He's the glue that holds Exile together, and the linchpin of the whole game. He's the emotional heart and soul of the whole endeavor, very nearly the main character besides the stranger. He's also tragically underappreciated compared to someone like the fan-favorite Gen or either of the brothers. And I'm sick of seeing him ignored and not getting the appreciation he deserves as a character and antagonist. Someone has to do it. Someone has to talk about Saavedro. And seeing as I'm a scholar of Narayani culture and literally wrote an entire novella called Lokusani about the guy, it may as well be me. The plot of Exile doesn't look that complex at first glance, and to be fair, it's a fairly simple idea. 10 years after the end of Riven, you're called back to Atris's new home in Tomana, meaning home in Dunny, to catch up. Turns out, he's been busy. He's got a new daughter, and he's been hard at work trying to find whatever remnants of the Dunny culture he can to reunite his people, something his father could never accomplish. To do so, he wrote a new age, Releeshahn, from a Dunny word meaning the whole, and brought them all to it, It's this expedition that he and Katran undertake in the Book of Dunny, released a little before Exile was released, and it's this he wants you to see at the start. Before we even get into the game proper, it's telling you this is a tale of trying to connect with a lost culture, trying to find a home that was previously lost. And then, Saavedro shows up. When you first meet Saavedro, you don't meet on good terms. He links in out of nowhere, steals the Releeshahn descriptive book, sets fire to the study, and links out again. Without thinking, you immediately chase him through the book, a book that burns before Atris or Katran can follow you, a book to an unknown world that you have just entered without a way back, exiling yourself. Without a return linking book, you're as stuck as you were on Myst or Riven before, except this time, there's no guarantee you're going home at the end. No clear exit from the trap you've sprung on yourself. But you don't know all that yet. All you know is that you need to stop this strange man who took your friend's people away from him, and you have to do it fast. But this stranger is too quick for you, and immediately locks himself in the central tower, pacing nervously. The only other way in is to go up from below from inside the tower, and here is when you learn where you are, and the name of this unkempt stranger. You can learn a lot about a person by looking around their room, what they like to do, who they are, and what their mental state is like. As you look around the stranger's lair, you pretty quickly realize a few things. First of all, Saavedro is a pretty creative, bright guy. He's writing fluently in a language that clearly isn't his own, he's quite a talented painter, and he's got a strong idea of how machines work, judging by his experiments and the notes on how he sabotaged the various devices Atris made. The man even has quite a green thumb, judging by the pitcher plant on his desk. Then you read his journal, and you realize his backstory, that he was trapped in these ages by Cirrus and Achenar years ago, and he blames Atris for not stopping them sooner, which, to be fair, he's kind of right about. He speaks of his desperation and isolation, and how much he misses his home, Narayan, dearly. Looking around further, you realize he's also clearly not all there. He speaks about a mind-eating fog and dissociative states, terrible memories that drive his need for revenge. The portrait of a woman on the wall that he painted eerily lacks eyes, and he sleeps with a weapon near his hammock. The man is paranoid, enraged, haunted, and deeply unstable. And the eerie soundtrack in the background doesn't help, only solidifying the idea of his madness. Then it hits you. He's been trapped here a very long time, enough to make this place an uncomfortable sort of home, a home he probably knows better than you ever can. Saavedro isn't rational like Gen. He can't be reasoned with like Cirrus or Achenar. And like those three, he's incredibly dangerous. And he's a short elevator ride away from you in the upper tower right over your head, right now. What if he gets bored of waiting for you? What if he comes down to check and finds you snooping through his things? The paranoia this breeds is inescapable, to the point you just want to confront him and get it over with. But once you try to use the elevator to go talk to him...
Atris? Is that you?
He mistakes you for Atris. He either can't tell, his eyes aren't that good, or he just is too manically giddy that his actions have drawn someone here after him to become trapped like he was. And here's when the truth comes out. Saavedro is not some random weirdo or hermit who stole Releeshahn for no good reason. He's someone who knows Atris well, someone canny who wants to specifically harm him, and has meticulously lured you here into a cat-and-mouse game intended for another person. And that means he's going to be incredibly angry when he does find out you're not Atris. Saavedro isn't just some psychotic like Achenar or another manipulator like Cirrus. He's at least as clever and resourceful as Gen, if not more so. Saavedro has set a trap you've unwittingly fallen into and now must confront him to work your way out of. A trap that was never meant for you. Sure, he leaves for Narayan to wait, and you might even let out the tense breath you've been holding once he does. But you still never feel safe after you meet him, for very good reason. That's because Saavedro is a mastermind with several screws loose, something like a jigsaw or mad creator that is a terrible and dangerous threat. And now, all because you wanted to be a hero and leapt before you looked, you're trapped on these ages with him. Jack Wall's score for Exile wants you to feel a lot of things, but the most important feeling it wants you to have is discomfort. Oh sure, there's plenty of beautiful and triumphant themes, like the pieces that play when you enter each age, for example. And there's also many calm pieces, especially in Amateria and Adana, reflecting just how beautiful each age is in its own way. Even Voltaic, despite its unsettling metallic synth pads, is relaxing in its own way. But the rest of the music, especially on Jananan, is ambient, an alternatingly unnerving and despondent tapestry of flutes, chimes, synth pads, gentle percussion, drones, and wailing voices or choruses, interspersed with the occasional string leitmotif, making the hub age especially extremely uncomfortable. And of course, the most prominent leitmotif in these ages, similar to Gen's theme intruding into Riven's music before, belongs to Saavedro. Saavedro's theme, which you could also call the Narayalani leitmotif, is a simple 3/4 and 2/8 note pattern that uses just 3 notes, but they're memorable all the same. Even without ever playing Exile, you've heard these notes before. That's because it uses a transposed version of the Dies Irae, or Day of Wrath leitmotif, which you may know from the Gate Bells and Silk Song, the main menu of Dead by Daylight, or the soundtrack to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. This theme is from an old Gregorian hymnal meant to evoke God's wrath on the Day of Judgment, and is commonly used in scores to bring a sense of death or impending doom. This is why Saavedro's theme feels so eerie, even when it's being triumphant, contemplative, or sad, and it's why it scares you. Saavedro is a man adjacent to, and very much haunted by death. The death of his world, the death of his people, and the death of his sanity. And also haunted by wrath, like a living ghost. Jack Wall might not have the same subtlety as Robin Miller, but he still subconsciously wants you to associate Saavedro with death and vengeance with a piece like this, so that when it creeps into the ambiance in Exile, you never feel safe from him, no matter what age you're in. He wants you to feel like Saavedro is everywhere around any corner, even if he really isn't. Like he's so much a part of these ages, he's become fused with them. Every time you see Sabotage, a portrait he's painted, or listen to one of his messages in the imagers, you hear this theme, and know he made these worlds his own, just to get back at Atris, let alone survive. This of course pairs nicely with all of the damage you see done to these ages, and some of the ways that Saavedro sabotages these puzzles feels deliberately sadistic, unhinged, and enraged, as if you can tell which ones he really despised. He seems to have done the worst damage to Amateria's puzzles, even smashing the floor of the room you find its book inside. But he's done very little damage comparatively to Adana, which perhaps reminds him of Narayan since it's a big tree and his main source of resources. In Voltaic, he seems to have gotten particularly cruel. The safer lava room controls are jammed in such a way you can only use them to drain the lava out. To solve the puzzle in the next room, you have to go into the actual lava room itself and do the puzzle with the lava in the room. This is not only dangerous, but also a way to mock Atris, since the portrait here depicts the burning of Narayan. Saavedro says he wants Atris to feel his pain, and in this case he makes it very literal. He wants to make you feel Narayan burn, by literally making you feel yourself burn. This isn't just good artistry. This is foresight that's chilling in the extreme. More than Myst or Riven, Exile is not just lonely and paranoid, it's also intense. Durif's portrayal of Saavedro especially is intense in every sense of the word. He's really showing his whole range here, from sadistic glee to unending torment and unshakable mad rage. but also with a touch of painful vulnerability that really does make you truly pity as well as fear him. Durif truly makes you feel Saavedro's pain, makes you feel guilty for things you never did, and it's just gut-wrenching. Because his acting is so raw and so real, it leaves an impression. And you feel Saavedro even when he's not there, feel those pained, icy eyes on you constantly, even when you're alone. Just like Gen and Riven, his influence creeps up on you in the most unexpected places, and so you never really feel alone, never feel safe from him, never able to truly relax no matter how beautiful these ages are. The darker his memories and messages get, the more intensely unsafe you feel, like he could be anywhere at any time, escalating into this almost nauseously mocking sense that he's toying with you. And he is. There's a real sense of palpable madness and desperation in this performance, and I'm not sure my description does it any justice, but just hearing the music, seeing how Saavedro has altered these ages, listening to and reading his words, you really start to feel unsafe here, just not in the same way that you are on Riven. It's a deeply jarring, unsettling paranoia you get here, one that doesn't just make you nervous, but put chills down your arms. And all that tension really doesn't ever get resolved for a good while. It all starts to eat at you after a bit, like a fog in your mind, reminding you that these ages aren't a classroom or a paradise to Saavedro. These ages are a prison. They're his hell. A beautiful hell he's burning in, one he's made his own, a reflection of his mind. You're not stuck on Atris's lesson ages. You're stuck on Saavedro's prison ages. And you truly are, in every way, playing by his mad rules. If you had to ask me to clarify the type of game Exile is, I'd call it a point-and-click puzzle psychological horror game with a side of social drama. It really is paced like a thriller at times, despite the fact you're just walking around solving puzzles and piecing a journal together. It seems to have a theme of escalation, with everything in it getting more and more intense until it's almost unbearable. All this tension, all this paranoia, it all comes to a head on Narayan, where you finally confront Saavedro, a task by this point you really might not want to do at all. The scenes on Narayan, as Saavedro finally realizes you're not Atris, are, in my opinion, one of the scarier experiences I've had in any game. Here you are, face to face with an unstable, armed, and desperate man who's clearly angry with you and himself, and you have nothing but books and paper to defend yourself with. You were unsettlingly never really alone on those ages, but you were in fact safe from Saavedro's wrath. He was never actually there. But now he is. And now you're not safe anymore. Look at what's happened to get you here. You deliberately put yourself in harm's way going after a dangerous person, not once but twice. And you got yourself trapped for it, stuck with no known places of safety, just like Saavedro is. You're trapped on an alien world with no way home after a fiery, grueling ordeal trying to play hero, just like Saavedro is. You're abandoned here, with no friends or allies anywhere to help protect you if things go wrong, just like Saavedro is. It hits you then that Saavedro, for all his cleverness and resourcefulness, really isn't a foil to Atris after all. He's a foil to the stranger, and thus to you. Saavedro, like the stranger in Myst, was stranded far away from home on a series of strange islands and worlds with bizarre devices that seemed vaguely familiar and cryptic riddles that seemed like a game, put there by Atris. Saavedro even leans on the fourth wall about them a little bit, kind of like you might sarcastically quip about the 10th lever puzzle in a row. Just like the stranger, he trusted Atris, but Atris never came to help him, just like how Atris can't follow you to Jananan. And also, just like the stranger, he jumped at the call to be a hero to someone, his people, and he got trapped for it. In the same way, Exile itself is a sort of twisted black mirror of Myst with its hub age connected to 4 more, Saavedro is the dark reflection of the stranger. He could easily be the stranger if they had faltered or not quite made it at any point in the last 20 years of knowing about Atris and his ages. And you, the stranger, could have easily been him. The thought that you're staring at someone you easily could have become yourself is a horrible realization, and a terrifying one. And this, finally, is what really makes you realize that Exile isn't really a puzzle adventure game. It's a psychological horror game. And just like Cirrus and Akanar betrayed Saavedro, Presto betrayed you and tricked you into thinking otherwise before snaring you in its beautiful web. I won't go any further and reveal how the game ends, except to say that it keeps up with the themes of escalation, reflection, betrayal, and revenge. I will say, quite simply, you can end the game on a vengeful note, or choose to break the cycle of suffering, or you can continue to escalate until one of you snaps. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because it really does need to be seen for yourself. But hopefully now, you can see why Exile is my favorite Myst game, why it means so much to me, why it's such a hidden gem for the Myst series, and why it really does deserve at least as much credit as Myst and Riven before it. It's not just that Presto put so much effort into making it a worthy successor to Myst and Riven, or that they tried to add so much detail and make the Narayani culture, what little we hear of it, feel as interesting and real as the Rivenese or Dunny before them. It's not just Jack Wall's incredible cinematic score, the technological leaps it took to make the game feel more real, the fantastic puzzles, or the frankly incredible performance Brad Dourif puts on here. It's the whole of it. Releeshahn, woven together like lattice vines into something that's an intense psychological thriller of vengeance, escalation, and drama that feels like you got off a roller coaster at the end, something fresh that contrasts so much with the quiet liminality of Myst or the soft paranoid conspiracy web of Riven, while also calling back to them. Exile is certainly not a perfect game, or even a perfect Myst sequel. The graphics haven't exactly held up well in places sometimes, and the puzzles are simpler, though the ages being classrooms for Cirrus and Akanar does help mitigate that somewhat. But for me, Exile simply is my favorite Myst game, even after playing the Riven remake. And I love the Riven remake to bits, so that should tell you how much I love Exile. It's just the perfect blend of cozy familiarity, thriller drama, tense paranoia, and character study that I really love in media, hitting every spot just right. It pains me to see it so unloved, because to me, it really is my Tomata, my home, my Narayalani. In so many ways, this twisted black mirror of a tale really does deserve the hype, and for your sake, I hope you too will find your way to this perfect place to plan revenge, and fall in love with it as I have. So what are you waiting for? Blink before you look, take the bait, and let yourself become helplessly trapped in the world of Myst III Exile.
And don't keep me